Hi, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here with Sam DeMaiziere. Sam is a senior. She's graduating in 2018 with a degree in Middle Eastern Studies. She is an alumna of the University Studies curriculum, so she knows quite a bit about this curriculum. And so I'm having the opportunity to talk to her, have her bring some insight to the conversation. Sam, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, RJ.
So, Sam, would you, just to give us some context, would you mind describing for us your military service and then talk a little bit about your transition to higher education?
Sure. So I graduated high school actually in 2008, but I knew for sure at that point that I wasn't ready for college because I didn't really want to pay for it, and I didn't think that I was mature enough to actually go to class every day like I was supposed to. I think, it would have been a colossal waste of money, so I worked for a little bit. I ended up enlisted in the Marine Corps. So I joined the Marine Corps in 2010 as an Arabic linguist and intelligence specialist. So I did that for 5 years. Had a great time, met lots of people, got to travel, got to spend a lot of time in the Gulf and translate. So it was a great experience for me. And then after 5 years, my last year to 6 months, I knew that I was going to get out of the military. I was going to re-enlist. So I applied to some pretty competitive schools, and I had about 6 months to transition. So I had a decent amount of time to kind of prepare myself. But it's almost impossible to prepare because I was 25 at the time, and I wasn't 18 anymore. I didn't think my brain was as malleable, but I'm graduating, so I guess I did all right.
And so, when you got to college, if you can just remind yourself of that moment, what were the things, cultural, academic, social, what were the one or two things that were sort of the most arresting to you, having come from a military environment and entered an academic environment?
Sure. I think I was really used to just, habit. I knew every day I'd wake up at 5, have a workout, be done by 7. I basically had a routine that I could follow in my sleep, whereas, you go to school. First of all, I was really nervous about being a little bit older. That ended up not being much of a factor, but I was nervous that I wasn't going to be able to compete with my traditionally aged peers. It had been a long time since I was just in a classroom, period. So I was nervous for that. I thought I was going to forget everything. It was just, it had been so long since I was inside of a classroom. I wasn't really sure what to expect. I just knew it wasn't going to be easy.
Sure. So this transitions nicely to the topic I really want to spend a little bit of time with you talking about today, and that's the idea of growth mindset or growth academic mindset. It's something we talk a lot about in the course. It's something that you and I have talked a little bit about. And I just wanted to get a sense from you, Sam. We're talking to facilitators, higher education professionals who are working with veterans and working to support veterans and to help promote academic success. This idea of mindset, how do you think it plays out? Do you think it plays out in a particular way for veteran students than it does for other students?
Yeah, absolutely. I think mindset is important because it could really be the determining factor whether or not you do poorly or you do well. Because I could tell myself, I just can't do this, and if you have that mindset, you're probably going to give up. I think what's beautiful is just by nature, veterans tend to be a little bit more competitive. I think it's just in our DNA. So if you put a challenge in front of us and say, if you follow these steps, you could, reasonably expect good results. I think that's a great step in the right direction because really just that little bit of encouragement and seeing things as a challenge and not just this ridiculous hurdle that you're never going to get over makes all the difference.
It's funny because I do find in my own work that veterans need a little less convincing on the concept of growth mindset. And do you think that has something to do with the fact that you've all learned to do difficult things and have, for the most part, succeeded in learning how to do them?
I think so. We're all told to be flexible and, just adapt and overcome. You have to make the best of what you're given. So I think that plays a large part in it.
Adapt and overcome, in some ways, that's the moral of the story of growth mindset, right? Adapt and overcome. And if you believe you can do that, it gets easier to actually do that. That's awesome. And do you, the one other question I have about this is, as you look at a veteran population more broadly, not just your experience, do you think that either initially or over time, veterans start to connect the fact that the skills that they learned in the military are in fact transferable to this environment, even though they seem like two totally different spaces?
I think so for sure. I mean, I happen to pick a major that was similar to what I did in the military, but I have friends who were, infantrymen who are, trying to be pre-med or, like study mathematics, and it's just, it doesn't really make sense, but they know that they have to work hard, because they just aren't easy degrees. But I mean, like, I don't know, it's just something that's hardwired in us to just, just get it done.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, ask for help if you need it, but.
Sure. So we are talking to higher ed professionals, and it's awesome to have you here. I did want to ask you before you go, I'm mindful of your time. You've gone through a 4-year degree. You're graduating in May, and you've been really successful here. You haven't just survived, you've really thrived. As a person who's done that, I know that you've made use of resources. I know that you've connected to campus, and you've asked for help when you needed it. For folks who are in supporting roles, for folks who are working to support veterans, to help them be successful, to help them be resilient, to help them achieve their goals, what for you are the things we need to keep in mind? What should be top of mind for us about transitioning service members, and what can we know to be as helpful as possible?
I think there's a lot of misconception with folks in higher learning that, they have to be mindful of how they speak to veterans. And I think that we don't really want to be baby. I think you just have to give it to us straight. That's the only way we're going to manage our expectations. I don't think that you should necessarily worry about hurting feelings. Just, be as objective and constructive as possible, because like we do take that information, we internalize it, and you'll see results best that way. I think that's one of the biggest things, and just helping destigmatize asking for help, because in the military we're kind of told jokingly, like suffer in silence, and that's something that can carry over, whether it's you're hurting on that run, or you have things that are stressing you out at home. A lot of people want to keep their private life, or things that are stressors to them private, and that can be a detriment. And I think that we do need to destigmatize that, especially for veteran students.
I'm really glad that you raise it, because what's so interesting about that is one of the things that we have to kind of reprogram veterans to understand is that asking for help is not a sign of weakness in higher ed. It is in fact what good students do, so I think that I appreciate you raising that. We've just spent some time with Sam DeMaiziere, senior here at Columbia University, graduating in 2018 with a degree in Middle Eastern Studies. Sam, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me, RJ. Have a good one.